Well, hey Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. In this episode, sponsored by SiegNuYork, we're going to be taking a look at the RX-78G-E Gundam EX. This is from Requiem for Vengeance. Thanks so much to SiegNuYork for getting this to me because my pre-orders hadn't come in and I really wanted to get this built, detailed, and do this video, obviously. Already did a review of the Zaku 2, which is absolutely awesome, so check that out if you haven't. But now the one that I've been waiting for, the one I wanted to build the most, the Gundam EX. In fact, this is one of my new favorite designs when it comes to Gundams. So yeah, let's dive in. All right, and here we go. Here is a look at the Gundam EX, completely panel lined, decaled all up, but a matte top coat, and I think that looked really good. I was debating between the gloss and the matte, and I think it works good. In fact, I even used gray panel line instead of black, and I'll kind of detail and explain why I did that. But it's interesting how many details, I guess considering this has, that it's missing, that actually requires you to kind of do some work if you want to make it completely accurate. And on one hand, that's kind of cool. On the other hand, I feel like they could have done something like that, but it actually made it a lot of fun. So actually, let's look at the details, see what I've done, and by the end, let me know if there's any areas maybe I could have improved in, anything that's maybe accurate that I missed out on. So yeah, let's take a closer look. And here it is without all the accessories on to get a good look. It is a lanky fella, but it also is a cool looking fella because I do like mobile suits to be sort of look grounded and look like it could be a weapon of war. You know, I think back to like, you know, F-15s, F-18s, Blue Angels, you know, stuff like that. And I think this kind of evokes that look. I like how the colors kind of retain sort of the classic look. I mean, there's less yellows and blues, but it's also muted and has more of the mixture of a white and gray. And it's really neat how this Gunpla model kit is able to detail that, considering this is just a high grade. So yeah, even as a high grade, just getting a look at it, we can see that there's just so much going on. It reminds me of the Origin kits, but with all that's going on, all the detail that's here. I had to reference photos from the manual, shots from the show itself, Requiem for Vengeance, and what other modelers have done to see if I can get it accurate, and we'll go through and look at that. As for articulation, this gives you all the articulation you could need, actually. And I think for it being as lanky as it is, I guess that kind of makes sense, but I will say that there is some shoulder blockage here, so the arms can't go all the way up, but you can almost fix that, you know, just by rotating the bicep, moving the elbow up just a little bit like that. The waist doesn't have too much of a swivel, and it does a little bit of forward and back, but not too much. And, you know, again, I don't know if this could be, you know, different for everyone, how they're building their kit. And I guess that's okay of a swivel, but not too much. And then moving down, we have the skirts that also have their articulation. And, you know, these skirts remind me of like the GPO series. In fact, they're not too big, but they still give it its purpose, but don't get in the way of moving the legs, which we see the drop down hips right in there. So that gives it a lot of articulation in there. And then looking at the leg and how far that goes back, there's a lot of articulation going on there. And then, yeah, the foot, the ball joint, again, you're gonna get a lot there. The arms, you know, we saw kind of where there's a hindrance there, but you can actually fix that with the rotation here. But, you know, the elbows themselves, I mean, that's a lot of good articulation for especially like beam saber combat. And moving forward, the arm just came off because these aren't, I guess, the best for that. I think we saw that with the Zaku 2 also, that again, it's actually not limited because you could still do this quite a bit. Oh, that feels like that's gonna fall out. But it's not the typical thing we would sometimes see where maybe the abdomen would move in, or I'm sorry, the chest would move in, which I think is fine. It's cool that they can pull off that type of articulation in a form like this. And looking at it a little closer, this is something else with the Zaku 2, and it's cool how much detail is in the joints, and the joints are a little different than typical joints because they're trying to recreate and be accurate with the look that comes from the show. And we normally see model kits that they release that aren't like totally accurate to the show in general. We see this a whole lot, especially with the Zetas. And then we have the robot spirits that have the Ver-Anime line in order to make things more accurate. So it is actually pretty cool to get a recent show like Requiem for Vengeance and they're able to release kits to be very accurate. I think it's just nowadays with a lot of production and final designs being made on a computer, you can get a lot of those measurements and translate them to merchandise. Okay, now that we've done that, I want to talk about the details here because there were as many details as there was in this. There was stuff missing that required, you know, it's obviously optional, but detail to make it as accurate as possible. So for instance, the vents on the face here, those actually had to be painted gray. They were not gray. And then I used a little bit of a Gundam marker to try to get some detail in there. I wasn't too happy about how it turned out, but this is very small. In fact, even when I was showing my wife, oh, look what I did. I don't know if she really cares, but she humored me. She you just noticed just how small this is. She's not used to small things. But what I did too on the face was I panel lined, but I use gray because I didn't want to use black to make it too dark. I think it works sometimes. I mean, I even sometimes think of my RX-78 too and how much that black just kind of shows up a little too much in some places, but it's not bad. I think this kit had good panel lines in the first place. When I look at the back of the head, it looks very cartoony-like with how dark that is. But on this, I made sure I went through the rest of the body with using the gray panel line. In fact, I did use black in some places. It might be hard to see, but like the red here and some areas where there was the darker gray that I put the black panel line in. Some other details that were required was painting the top here. I used the gunmetal paint color on there. Instead of matching this gray, I just like how it was kind of shiny. Even though I put the top coat on, it still gives it a nice, good look. But yeah, interesting that wasn't a separate piece at all. Again, with all the detail that's on this, they do have to save in some areas and can't make everything completely accurate. Down here at the chest, guns or whatever that could be, I actually didn't look that up. I put gunmetal there too because I think that looked. And then moving down here, these two spots right here, they're kind of hard to see and they wrap around. I also painted those as well. In the anime, that's what they look like. What's interesting is in the manual for this, and we'll look at that later, it looks like gray that's painted around the skirt here. And originally I was gonna do that, but then when I'm looking at shots from the show itself, it didn't have that. So yeah, less work I have to do, but also I want it to be as accurate as possible. Because one part that was actually pretty hard was actually painting the gray that is on this piece. So you see the gray out here, you see this white piece on the thigh right here, the outside upper part, but it also was supposed to be gray on the inside. So I had to take these pieces off, and I actually did it on a live stream and just hand painted it. And I think it turned out pretty good. I mean, I don't think you could really tell, but someone that's used to that stuff, or you could look closely, you would kind of see where maybe there is some brush strokes that maybe I could have thinned out before applying. But then also when I was done, I did panel line it again with the gray. And by adding that on there, it kind of blended in with the gray in general. And then when I went back with the lighter fluid to clean it up, I think that just helped give it a cleaner look. So I do in the end really like how that turned out, but that was another area that required accuracy. Some other things I did was on the elbow, just adding a little of the chrome panel line marker, Gundam marker. I actually got it from Art Rovo Gundam. I did it on the elbows. I did it on the knees here, and I do think that there might have been a little more detail actually in the anime that I didn't add. I want to say that maybe part of this was actually white in general, but I thought that looked pretty good. But another part happened to do with the wrists here. So there's this like silver circle that's normally a dark gray color, and then around that was white. But the accurate version would have that dark with a silver or white spot in the middle. So that was another area I went through just with Gundam markers, and I think it could have been better. Maybe another coat, but also with it being using gunmetal, I think that sometimes gives it a little shine that doesn't actually make it look full like you would see here. Like I think it should match what's here or what's here at the wrist, but I still like the way it looks. I mean, from far away you can't notice, and I think it looks great. You know what? I also want to say, I think this top part, this is just one piece here. That top part is actually supposed to be white. In fact, I was scared to paint things white that weren't normally white, and I'm going to show that here on the shield. So yeah, let me get to the accessories. All right, moving on to accessories. Like I was talking about with the shield, you know, it's interesting that they have the separate pieces so that it's like, you know, color separated that you could put together. The interesting thing though is on, you know, the accurate look like that we see in the show is this part would be white. There's a panel line here, but above that it would be white along with this. Now, this is not white actually. It's more of an off-white, a gray. I think in the back of the manual we can look at here in a second, it even says like using white, gray, and I think even yellow to kind of get this color. We'll look at that again. I could be completely off, but I really think they could have just made this part longer so that it would have attached there on here. I'm surprised they did it like that, but I guess really I could go back and make that white. I just didn't because I wanted it to match, not just look like a different color. I really wanted to be able to pull off this color, so instead I just did that. And you know what? I wasn't too crazy about these stickers that were going to be applied on here, but I think it turned out great. I just took my time. I even think I adjusted them a little bit before I finalized putting it on there, but I think the top coat really helped pull this off. And you can actually see up here in the light where maybe some of the top coat didn't land because maybe how I was spraying it. Again, not too noticeable if I just have this standing on a shelf, but something to think about the future builds. But I gotta say, just kind of looking at the sheen this gives off, it looks really nice. And that happens a lot. I want to say shields are some of the most fun to do because they're wide, large, flat areas that just have a few details and sometimes a decal or two. And they're usually color separated, so when you do a top coat, it turns out really nice. All right, and along with that is the gun, and unfortunately, and it's happening right here, the hand, the little peg, let me get that in view, the little peg in the hand, I just kind of deteriorated or broke just a little bit. I don't think I would have cut that, and it maybe had something to do with the panel line marker, I don't know, but I'm just using the blue sticky tack to hold that in. I mean, I've got another kit, actually, my pre-order came in, that I'm gonna use to put the Gatling on the Gundam universe. Now I have another hand, I guess, if I wanna fix that and make it right. But yeah, here's the gun, and you know what, for this one, I didn't do much detailing. I didn't really put too much anything on it other than some panel lighting, some gray on the gun itself, or like, I guess this machine part, but then on like the barrel and scope and stuff, I just put black. And also this sticker was a little tough to get in at first. I had to remove it sometimes because getting it placed in the middle just perfectly so that yellow ridge goes around, it's kind of tough to do. So luckily I was able to pull it off, try it again. It was just a matter of kind of laying it in a way where I could press down once it's laid in for it to go pressed in evenly, but it's almost impossible to get it even. So, but I think I fixed it, made it look good. And then getting that top coat in there, I think actually helped as well. All right, this is the triple beam saber rack, which I love this thing, and it's fully articulated and you could take the beams off. And same type of thing here. I just, put the gray panel line on there. I think that's all it needed. I think black would have been too much. In fact, I might have an example of that here that I was trying to clean off. But yeah, the top coat afterwards make this look really nice. And there's a matter of kind of turning them on here or just looking around to make sure you are getting all of the different little lines that do show up across this. And then we have the backpack. These are always fun. So one thing I noticed too is that the inside was gray or a darker color, in the show, but not on the kit. So I actually got the, again, the gunmetal and put it in there, just kind of colored it in there. You can see I missed some spots, but it's not too big of a deal. By the end of the day, I think this looks great. This just kind of adds some depth that I think looks good to it. I also used some water-based paint to just kind of, not really panel line, but just kind of brush it a little bit just to give it a little more texture. This is a rubber piece. It's very flimsy, and I wanted to be careful. I think I even asked on stream what I should do about this, and I was told really not to use the panel liner that I use for everything else. But yeah, this also has, some decals. Again, the gray panel line looks great, especially with the top coat on here. And then yeah, here's where we get to the Gatling gun, which is one of my favorite features of this. Oh yeah, we can see where I put silver on there too for fun, just to kind of add a little more detail. But okay, so here we can see the black that I had on there, and it's like not bad. In fact, it makes it look like super weathered, but the Requiem for Vengeance Gundam EX wasn't super weathered. So I really, once I put the black on there, I tried to clean up as much as I could to make it look more like it does on the other side, because then I decided, okay, I just need to use the gray because I think that just works better. And I did debate putting the gunmetal on this, but I think the gray of this really matches the rest of the kit, or the inner frame. So it's like, okay, maybe I should gunmetal all of it, but I didn't want to go too far and wanted to kind of keep it looking as accurate as possible. One final thing to mention when it comes to the build and everything is the decals. The decals were a ton of fun because it wasn't a lot, and in fact, it's really cool how this works because there's actually enough kind of left over or outside that you can actually make your own decals for other things. I kind of like it sometimes when decal sheets do that, just to kind of give you more you can work with. But some of this did have like the wraparound. It was all one sticker right here to wrap around. You got to give it some time to line up, but once you do and wrap it around, it looks great. And then even like these stickers on the top here, it's very interesting how it's just all one piece because it's see-through. Same thing with the Zaku, it's all one piece. Whereas with the Zaku, I actually didn't use some stickers because it didn't look as good. This one, I was able to use all the stickers and not have any problems with them. You can see the Earth Federation logo here, and it's kind of light on there, and then you can also see it on the back there. It's really subdued in details, even though there are a lot of details. Also, insane small stickers, smaller I think than anything on a real grade crossbone. There is a green right there you could barely see, and a red right there you could barely see. Oh, so small. Actually, I remember the Sinanju Stein for Ka, even though that's a 100 and bigger, that had a small decal that I think I lost to oblivion. It was just, I picked it up on the end of the tweezers and then just shot off and went somewhere. I was afraid that was going to happen with these. And they could have maybe made it part of this one bigger piece, but what was nice about it being separate is that there is some molding, some mold lines here of the panel line, mold lines, whatever, the intentional ones that I think would cause, you know, too much air to get into. So being a separate piece, I think was necessary. And then even here, the ones on the sides, I like that they kind of go on the, around the edge and the side and not directly on top. It kind of gives it some depth. I really like the look of it. Oh, and then you know what? This guy down here, the most insane, like, can I even get a closer look? I don't think it's possible. Yeah, it's not possible. It is just too small. That sticker there, I'm glad I didn't have to paint, but I'm thinking, well, I might as well have just had to paint because it's so small that that's there. And it's like 2 yellow lines. It's not like the triangle. It's not a Federation emblem. It's just 2 yellow lines. It's very interesting. In fact, even with the top coat and looking closer, it's almost like it is a darker red. Crazy how small that is. That's not what she said. All right, and then slapping all this stuff together. Real simple use of putting the backpack on here. It's got the articulated thrusters. This piece right here actually comes off. Should I take it off? Yeah, there we go. And you can see that it goes in pretty good, so you don't have to worry about this falling off, which is nice. This, you know, has a little peg that plugs into the back there, and then that's what then gives it the articulation you need to kind of pivot around. It's both a hinge and a swivel, potentially, yeah, at the end of that hinge there. Seems like things that could break easily, so I guess just be careful. And then the triple beam saber rack, this also plugs into the back here. Looking cool. This one does fall off on me every once in a while. It's not too big of a deal. And actually, I think since I've top coated it, it kind of made it a little thicker, so I think it does stay in a little better. And yeah, you want it to get a good snap when you get it in. But I love having these on here because you can really recreate a specific look of them just in rest mode, or, you know, as they're wanting to pull it out and have one drop down for him to reach and grab. Like, look how easy it was for me to create that pose. I think that's awesome, and that's a big part of what this is. All right, just to quickly look at the manual. Awesome photo here. Again, one of my new favorite designs. I just love the way this looks. It's got some colored pictures, and because this wasn't a difficult build, you know, it's actually a really fast, quick, easy, and fun build. It's like you are building a machine. There's some components to this for how you're just like placing the things together, and it just looks like you're building a robot. That's what I really like about it. And then here's the back where it has some shots. So something I was talking about earlier is how on the front skirts, there is some gray that's not only around the perimeter of each skirt, but also the molded part that is on the outside of this other piece you plug in. So the model kit has more of that detail there, but the show didn't, so I didn't go that route. And then moving down real quick here, oh yeah, we get to see the decals. Didn't take long at all. In fact, when I was thinking about getting to the decals, I was like, okay, I'll just do that later. I'll just start on one, and then I just finished it. And then the color guide. So this is what I was talking about, where it has different types of gray. Here's a gray that's body, and I'm assuming it means on you know, this part in here, although that, because that is like a lighter gray than the darker gray outside of it. That's where it, yeah, it says white, dark gray, and black, small dose. Let's see. This is the lighter one. This says gray, another gray, and then a sandy yellow. Look, it sounds fun to mix paints and come up with your own, and I've done it before. I think I did it with the Efreet custom, the one with the orange or yellow shoulders, but it's kind of hard to do for me. I think that's a more advanced technique that I got to learn and develop over time, but I say give it a shot if you really want to make sure you're getting the right paint and you're not too sure. Real quick for some other comparisons, here is Solari Zaku 2, which I think looks fantastic, and it looks great up against this one, both with the matte top coat. I think look great together, and I think it just helps with the certain colors that it represents pop out, like the reds on each one. And then between them, I'll show another latest one that I've built. I have a review up, and this is that real grade version 2.0 of the RX-78 which, man, the colors on this really pop. I love the way this looks. Again, I used a black panel line on the white here, and you know, I think it's okay. It's probably best for something like this, even at the helmet. But on this one, yeah, different type of color of gray, more realistic looking type of robot, and I think doing the gray panel line instead of black works out. And you know, just for fun, here is the Robot Spirits Easy 8 alongside the Gundam EX, designed by the same mechanical designer, if I'm not mistaken. I love that they kind of kept with this look, like as if it could have been something within UC Gundam lore that they could do in repairing suits. But considering these are both accurate to their corresponding corresponding media. I just love how Gundam has evolved and been able to really make things still look Gundam-y, but also give it realistic looks. I know some people aren't crazy about this design, but for me, this speaks to me at the type of mechanical robot thing that I like to see. So anyway, again, that is the Gundam EX. Totally love this. Let me know what you think below. And what do you think about the details too? I find it interesting the things they've omitted, and then there's the details from the high grade, from the manual that can add that are different than the details that are actually in the anime. They're small, but it's kind of the things I like, the small little details that I like about the mobile suits and making them accurate. And what version do you prefer? Anyway, big shout out again to SiegNuYork for providing these to me before my pre-orders came in. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to have them built and covered by the time that it's getting that more mass release for everyone to be able to get, because I want to be able to share this stuff as soon as I get it, because I get so excited about it and want to share. And if you're interested in stuff like that, I have been actually streaming a lot more recently when I get things in the mail, unboxings, building, doing customs and detailing. So if that's something you're interested in, keep an eye out for that. But also, if you're interested in supporting the channel, there's some links below for that. It really helps me out. But also shout out to a supporter of the channel, Art Rovo Gundam. Check the link in the description for that if you want to save, buy 2 or more items from the store, get free shipping. But also, there's the Discord where we share our builds. We have fun talking about Gundam lore, the shows, just general chat. It's actually pretty fun. But anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, be cool. See y'all later.